If you follow this channel, you will know I am mostly Team Chaos Undivided, as everything under the 8-pointed star has a 100% chance to snatch my heart and soul. But if I had to choose, I guess it would be Nurgle. Out of the 4 big deities, Nurgle and his blessings are the most appealing to me. And even though this is a very strange statement, I think like this because Nurgle can be many things. From horrific over to weird up to funny, and it all somehow fits very well. Even combined. Maybe even more if it's combined. Today I am not only building a miniature, but I also try to make it be a part of its own environment. And I used the Terminator Captain from the Leviathan box for that to build something even cooler. Like always, I get rid of all the loyalist symbols with my hobby knife. First cutting it off, then removing most of the material with scraping, and after that with a sanding paper or sanding sponge to make it smooth. I brush away the sanding dust and move on with removing a little more material. The Crux Terminatus is a huge chunker of plastic that mostly leaves a scar when you remove it. I also cut away all the purity seals that are, at least on this miniature, very easy to reach. I had some different plans for the base here, so I removed the most outstanding pieces of the Tyrannid's head and went on with his sword-wielding arm, where I removed his sword-wielding hand. I tried not to damage this, it's a cool looking bit that maybe will find its way back on my desk. As I wanted him to look a little more chaotic and rotten, I removed some chunks from his cape, first with clippers and after that with my knife. I just realized up until this point the entire build is just to remove material, and it's getting even worse. I cut away the loyalist symbol on his top as I want to give him a new one. And after that it was time for the unnecessary fan service of drilling the barrels of that Stormbolter. And while I was doing that, I went on with drilling some more holes here and there, and went on and on and on, until I reached the point where I got tired of it and took out the big guns. The point was really to butcher this miniature and destroy the armor as much as I could, so it looks like Nurgle's corruption. I think this here is also one of the reasons I like Nurgle, as they are not really defined by their ornaments or trims, but by falling apart. And that can be done to any miniature out there. Well. After that excessive drilling, I removed all the particles and plastic bits from my table and finally went on with adding stuff. First I wanted to sculpt some rocks and used milliput that I just laid over the Screamer Killer's head. After that I used some green stuff and superglue to put a new horn or spike onto his left shoulder and sculpted that green stuff with the backside of my out-of-service knife. I wanted this to look like the growths we all know and love from Nurgle miniatures. And after that it was time to give him his new weapon. And as it is Nurgle, it is going to be a sigh. The most impossible word to pronounce after suggestions. And while I'm bragging about being able to say Eichhörnchen or Kraftfahrzeughaftpflichtversicherung without any hesitation or problem, I put on a tentacle in one of his newly given holes. That sounds so wrong. But that tentacle is also holding his long stick. There you have it. And talking about sticks, I used this leftover hand from Rotigus and cut it into various pieces. I really like this distorted wood-like looking features from this Nurgle stuff and thought I want to give this Terminator such a theme. Like he's standing and also being a part of Nurgle's garden itself. But this was a little bit too long and it needed to be shortened. And as it resembles wood anyway, I thought it was fitting using a small hobby saw. After that it got a connection point out of green stuff, repeating the same process I did with his shoulder. I just pressed it onto the miniature, sculpting it with the backside of my knife as I'm trying to replicate a root-like structure that is growing rampant on his back. And while I let this harden for a while, I went on with his base. I really like the Tyrannid growth that is on the ground itself, and I only tried to cover everything that resembles a dead Tyrannid. The hardest part was to create something like an overhang, as the side of him is also reaching out pretty far and I wanted to match that with some growth. So I used these leftover bits from Rotigus' stuff that I just pressed into the milliput itself. I also placed a Nurgle's banner symbol on the distorted wood-like growth on his back. And after that I gave him some trinkets and various Nurgle bits that I had placed onto his armor. Like this little bell and this fly resembling trinket. And talking about flies, you could fly over to that like and subscribe button and give it a click, as it really helps and lets me know that you like the content. And maybe we reach the 7,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Nurgle's holy number and such. And after this beautiful transition, I gave him his helmet. This one is from a Saturnine Praetor and again with some holes drilled into it. And after that I clipped and knifed the armor a little to create more damage and went on with the painting. Today the painting section is a little bit shorter, as this is always the most skipped parts in my videos and I try to adapt here, holding this content fresh. So I thought I'd try something new here, and a full version is still available on my Patreon and for channel members if you want to see and listen to the whole process. For the first steps I used some various green tones of dark green, scorpion green, lime green and up to ivory to achieve this non-metallic metal-like look. I am not really aiming for that non-metallic metal look, but I like to highlight greens very extremely, which creates this as a side effect. When I was happy with that green, I went on with that wood-like looking pieces as well as the horns that all got a coat of dark rust. I thought I'd try something new here and paint the entire sire and bolter with burnt red as well to have a rusty undertone. And when that was done, I went on with his cape, which got a coat of evil red, dark purple and hexed lichen. For his base I mixed AK Interactive's turquoise mine with dark earth to create various hues between blue and brown, and I also wet blended a little bit of dark purple and neutral grey in there to create shadowy and light areas. And while this dries, I went on with the magenta for his cape, that I just stippled onto the most raised parts. For the golden parts I as always used Pro Aquil's dark bronze and dark silver for the other metallics. And after that I used Vallejo's turquoise and a little bit of water to create a verdigris-like effect on these golden parts and corrosion holes, to give this miniature a little more color variation. For his eyes I went with dark purple as a base color that I painted in and around these and built myself up to a brighter magenta and even white highlight. And after that it was only time to edge highlight the corrosion effect with a mix of turquoise and white. And here we have him, the vibrant Nurgle Terminator Champion. I would love to know what you think of this, let's be honest, less of a miniature than before because of all the corrosion holes, and if you like the Garden of Nurgle I tried to create here. I want to include a little bit more of that base crafting and terrain building in my videos, as it is a skill I want to enhance after 7 years of only having flat bases with a bush on it. And I also have to say I love painting these guys, especially in these vibrant colors. It really can make them stand out and create this slightly off-putting feel in oneself. Maybe one day I start a Nurgle army. Or maybe I even did that today. But anyway, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, leave a like and maybe a subscription, destroy the hype button and earn my eternal gratitude, and we are going to see each other in the next one.